"You can't say that," a churchgoer told me after a funeral service. He then explained what he meant. At the graveside, one of the traditional phrases used in many Christian funerals is, "May the Lord be merciful to him in the judgment." My conversation partner did not like that at all. In his view, one should not speak about judgment at a funeral because it sounds like a threat. Well, whether it is really a threat is the first question. The second is, why should we not be allowed to speak about the fact that God is also judge? In today's Impulse, the matter is stated very clearly. For he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity. What is striking is that the psalmist does not speak these words with fear, quite the opposite. The entire psalm is a song of praise. The people rejoice that God is coming. Why? Because God's judgment is very different from what we often associate with that word. When human beings judge, injustice can occur. People make mistakes, people can be influenced, people sometimes judge too quickly or unfairly, but God judges with perfect righteousness. He knows the truth, he knows the human heart, he knows every motive. Nothing escapes his notice, but neither does he misunderstand anything. That is why the thought of God's judgment is not only a serious message, but also a comforting one. In the end, injustice will not have the last word. Violence will not have the last word. Lies and evil will not have the last word. God will set things right. And yet, the question remains, who could stand before such a judgment? If God truly judges with perfect justice, what could any of us possibly bring in our defense? This is where Jesus Christ enters the story. For the wonder of the gospel is that the verdict has, in a sense, already been spoken. At the cross of Calvary, Jesus took upon himself the guilt of humanity. There, God's judgment against sin was not ignored, it was borne by Christ. That is why Christians do not face God's judgments carelessly, but neither do they face it in fear. For those who trust in Jesus Christ do not stand alone before their judge. They stand before the one who is also their Savior. And that is why we may speak words of hope at the grave of a believer. Not because we need to pretend that life was perfect, not because there's no judgment, but because in Jesus Christ the door of grace stands wide open. For those who trust in him, the final word is not condemnation, it is acquittal.